Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. Very excited to have Will Lehr from Perpetual Assets, my buddy, my pal, my friend, my coworker, and someone who saved my ass with my retirement, getting it out of the system and into cryptos a long time ago now. Thank you for doing that. I attribute all my good fortune to Will Lehr. Hello, Will.
Wow, that's quite the intro. Hi, Bix. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm sitting here at Road to Ruta and looking at trying to figure out, okay, we know the bull run is officially started. We've bottomed, no matter how many traders say, oh, no, we have to hit $1,000 Bitcoin. There are plenty of things to think about as we run forward. I think there will be pullbacks here and there, some orchestrated, some unorchestrated. But the biggest thing that I'm really excited about and kind of trying to get my head around is if we do run into an economic collapse, as we did in 2008, this time around we'll have the cryptocurrencies at least as one of the options. And if you go back to 2008, around September 11th, 2008 is when, Hank Paulson went to Congress and said, oh my God, what are we going to do? You got to bail us out. I've long said that the political will is not there for another bailout on either side, much less agreeing on something together. Mm-hmm. So I do think we will have a situation where some of the biggest banks in the world will not be bailed out. And then it comes to, okay, what's next? And luckily, over the last 10 years, we've been building this crypto infrastructure. Many people have gotten their retirement accounts out of the system using perpetual assets and using other means, getting cryptos in your own possession, getting gold and silver in your own possession. So I wanted to get you on to kind of talk about that. First of all, do you think that we have bottomed? Do you think we are in the next bull run up for cryptos?
2018 beat me up so bad that I'm afraid to say yes.
But well, yes. Isn't that normal? Isn't that normal for,
Exactly.
Yeah, for the beginnings of a bull market, it's climbing the wall of worry, and that's about it.
Yeah. The bull market, the 2017 bull market, or any rampant bull market like that, breeds this exuberance feeling. Oh, I'm rich. It's never going to end. It's great, And just in the same fashion, the bear market is the opposite. It builds this sentiment of just complete frustration and doubt and discouragement and all these other things. So don't worry, I didn't sell. In fact, I did buy along the way, a little bit here, a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, how can you look at the price action the last 30 days? And I mean, and then just the last few days and the volumes as well. I'm waiting for the altcoin rally. In my mind, I think the bull will be back as soon as the alts can confirm it. If Bitcoin pulls back a little bit, and it's interesting to watch Litecoin. Normally, in previous cycles, Litecoin traded more with the altcoins, mm-hmm. and now it's trading with Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
But to a greater levered extent. I mean, it which is an interesting thing. It's trading like the silver Bitcoin, right?
The funny thing to me is always when I look at Litecoin. I did a Litecoin video this morning. When I look at Litecoin, it's doing and acting and in the background everything that Charlie Lee said he wanted for his coin the moment he sold it. He said, "I don't want to be the focal point." He said it was more towards his Twitter feed, and he would, influence the price and all that. I think it's more towards the SEC statement saying, hey, when they were talking about Ethereum, they were saying, well, Ethereum would have been a security. It probably was a security when it was first introduced, but since Vitalik is pretty much not totally associated with it anymore, we're not going to call it a security. Mm-hmm. I think Charlie heard that and said, oh my God, I got to get out of being the sole guy at Litecoin. And then, oh, by the way, if the world really is in need of a means of exchange, he wanted Litecoin to be that number one choice. And I think it is now. I think absolutely. If you said ask any crypto guy who's in the know to say, obviously there's other choices, but who has the first mover? Who has that sole responsibility to the crypto community to be used as a means of exchange? Everything building towards, I would say it would be Litecoin. Well,
it's a powerful project. I mean, it's just, in my mind, it's a late blooming Bitcoin without all the drama. And it's faster. And I mean, so if we look to what Bitcoin has done just from a market breadth, from a adoption standpoint in the last 2 years, I mean, Litecoin could very well be at that similar sort of a breadth and point of adoption a couple years from now, without all the drama, and without the block sizing issues and all this stuff. So, yeah, I think, the potential for Litecoin we're already at $90 now, right? But still, some of your work, if you compare it to Bitcoin, like a silver gold type of comparison, it's got a lot of potential, and the project is sound. They really, Charlie and the team really appears to be on point.
I think one of the big things with the project and where it's going, Lightning Network, and that's been in the works for a long time, and everybody's like, oh God, it's going to take way too long. And I thought the same thing. It's going to take too long. We need to get something in place. Well, they've kicked the can down the road with the banksters for the last 10 years on Bitcoin, waiting for something to get really in place. And I do think there are Lightning nodes up and running, and more coming every day. I think with the atomic swap aspect of the marriage between Bitcoin and Litecoin, those are the two things that there's 3 things Charlie said he wanted to do when he sold his Litecoin. He says, number one was he build out the Lightning Network so that speed is not an issue. It doesn't matter really if Litecoin is 5 times or 4 times as fast as Bitcoin. With the atomic or with the Lightning Network, everything is instantaneous because it's off-chain scaling. And then with the atomic swaps, Bitcoin and Litecoin could literally be interchangeable, meaning you could pay with Bitcoin, get changed in Litecoin, and vice versa. And then the third thing he wanted to do is turn Litecoin more into a privacy coin. And I think he's getting there. There's all kinds of things they're working on that front. So it's like everything he said he was going to do to make Litecoin that number one means of exchange at the time we need it. Now, right now, we don't need it. Nobody needs a means of exchange in cryptocurrencies. The minute we do, September 11, 2008, had they not bailed out the banks, the next day we would have needed that means of exchange. So, well,
and to your point, man, look at all the infrastructure that is being built and has been built in the last 2 years through the bear market cycle. You would have thought the prices would have rallied at some point with just repeated news. I get this Forbes email, and it's a crypto. It's a Forbes publication, and it's all about partnerships, mergers, just unbelievable stuff happening in the blockchain space with Fortune 500 companies and huge institutional banks and governments. If you look at all of that news, it's pretty obvious that the infrastructure is being built for a new system.
The amazing thing is there were people, some of the old timers in Bitcoin back in, when the crash started back in February, March timeframe of last year, when it really started kicking in, and all of a sudden everybody was getting scared. There were people like Charlie and other people saying, they love the time when Bitcoin crashes because it really puts people to work and the infrastructure gets built and things like that. Because during the boom times, it's just like crazy stuff coming in from every which way. During the bust times, that's the time to get to work. And you're right. During the past year, we've never heard so much good news about the infrastructure being accepted and being built out, and great things, amazing things happened every month. And then it's, the price just kept going down and down and down. It's strange to live through. And I'm sure the next one, after we get in and after all the new people come in, there's a ton of new people, including bankers and hedge funds and mutual funds and retirement people coming in. Everybody's coming into crypto.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have a blow off top, there'll probably be another one. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would crash as much. It depends how high it goes.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get anything done in those last few months of the the hyperbolic blow off. Say it's 100,000 this time, mm-hmm. which I would expect 100,000 by next year maybe. And that'll be when your aunt gets in and your sister and everybody else gets in, and then they either manipulate it down or something else happens. But it's those boom times that nothing gets done really in the crypto world, and it's the bust times that all the real work gets done. It's amazing.
Yeah, if you imagine this crypto market and what happens in the face of another 2008, $100,000 Bitcoin is not that far of a stretch to the imagination. We're talking about infrastructure being built to provide a means of exchange in the face of a fiat crisis, a banking crisis, a currency crisis, and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars trying to funnel into these small little projects. Even Bitcoin has a $140 billion market cap. So it's
nothing. It's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And it's coming, and that's the exciting thing. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, basically there's two things. One is the traditional business that, you helped me out first to get my retirement accounts into cryptocurrency. I think I was your first guy to flip into cryptos.
You had to have been, yeah, because back then we were into cryptos. It was just early. Right. We accepted it as a currency, on our website as a means of payment for precious metals. Yeah, you had to be the first, at least the first I know of that.
When it's your self-directed IRA, you're the manager. So not many people are as vocal and visible as I am. But what I do want to talk about a little bit is if we do go through a banking crisis again, like in 2008, and if there isn't a bailout this time, which I don't think there is the political will for that, even though the consequences are unimaginable. Mm-hmm. Those people with assets in the system, even in their retirement, even if they hold cryptos in their retirement accounts, will most likely not see them ever again. Because if the system breaks down, you have a complete failure of banking. That's why which means a complete failure of all your retirement accounts, all your 401k, the people holding your 401k, you're going to be dealing with bankruptcies.
Yeah.
And they don't hold your assets, first of all. They put them in a pool just like every other third-party storage. So it is so important to get your cryptos out of that system into your own possession, because you'll never go bankrupt if you are holding your assets. You won't have to worry about those assets going away. And if the government wants to come and confiscate them, that's up to you to whether you let them do that. I don't think that would ever happen in the United States. We have this thing called the Constitution it's been forgotten about, but it's still there. And especially when people come for your assets.
We've also got a couple 100 million gun owners,
Oh yeah. And there's nothing our government can do. They know they're the problem. They're not the solution. So I do think, I don't think there will be any type of attempted confiscation, attempted haircuts like they did in, was it Cyprus? I don't know why people stood for that they allowed the banksters to give them haircuts. I guess the only other option would be not to get anything at all. But still, I can't see that ever happening in the United States, only because we think we're free. As I know we're not, because of the people that control our lives, but we still have that thought that we are free human beings, and if anybody tried to haircut our assets or confiscate our cryptos or our gold and silver, we wouldn't allow it to happen.
It's a lower threshold for tyranny over here. We'll allow the turn your head and cough from the TSA agents when you go fly somewhere, or countless other voids of our civil liberties. But when things get real, the shoe drops and people put their foot down, especially here. Yeah, I think counterparty risk is the big, that's what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about counterparty risk, a third party in between you and your asset. Like this is the asset. I hold it. There's no counterparty. If you're holding the asset for me, you're a counterparty. Bix is a great guy, but and I trust him and I like him, but if government shows up at his door with tanks and guns and says, "Give us that iPhone,"
give us Will's iPhone.
I don't want him to shoot him. I kind of hope he would give it up, So this applies to precious metals depositories and vaults. This applies to any crypto, any institution where you're not holding the private keys or in control yourself of the private keys. It also applies to these trust accounts and these IRA accounts. The largest administrators of IRAs and 401ks are the commercial banks. Fidelity, JP Morgan. All of these huge counterparties with a whole lot of exposure in different areas. And sure, their trust business might be sound and secure, but if they've got hundreds of millions of dollars in derivatives on the books as well, or other areas that are massively exposed, those companies are going to have problems in the next hiccup.
Well, I don't even think the trust. If the trust companies, if your third party entity has to deal with or has any assets in or is involved in a bank when the banking system goes down, there is no, that's the key, is that Fidelity won't have any financial services.
Yeah,
they won't have anything. Deliver. They won't be able to pay their employees. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that was avoided in 2008. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that we'll be facing, either bail out the banks or lose everything. So most people say we'll end up bailing out the banks. I'm not so sure this time. A lot of people, they would shut down the banks. They would reallocate assets probably in some way. But just the thought of that type of disruption in the system would drive most of those assets down, 50, 75% anyway.
Well, and then you get a panic.
Yeah.
You get enough percentage of people that panic and start to withdraw their funds, and it's game over. That's what started happening in 2008, right? With the money market withdrawals.
Especially because they're fractionally reserved on stocks, on bonds. Just look at the volumes on crypto exchanges. Yeah. Any third party holding your crypto, good luck. In the last 24 hours, I think Litecoin volume was at 4.5 billion, and total Litecoin that's ever been mined would be 5.5 billion or something to that effect. Wow. So in the last 24 hours, every single one of those Litecoin traded hands, I didn't sell mine. You didn't sell yours. I know whoever Charlie Lee sold all his Litecoin to, they didn't sell theirs. It's a Ponzi scheme beyond Ponzi schemes, these exchanges. And I don't trust any of them. I hear some are better than others. But when they say better than others, that means they hold 80% of what their customers own.
Well, if they allow leveraged trades, if you can go on there and you can do a 10 times Bitcoin long or short or whatever.
I don't even think that. That's if they abide by the rules. Even exchanges without leveraged trades are trading massive volumes supposedly, or reporting massive volumes,
right?
Or both. And it is so out of control right now because it's completely unregulated.
What do they argue? That it's the same Litecoin going back and forth 18 times in a day?
It's neither, because these exchanges, when you put your crypto on an exchange, you give your crypto to them. Right. They don't do anything with it. Sometimes they'll sell it and not tell you, but they'll stick it over in the corner, and then it's their system that trades the derivatives of cryptos back and forth. These are just derivatives trading. It's not until you pull it back off that Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever you've got actually moves, because none of these exchanges, they're trying to do the DEXs, the decentralized exchanges, but the ones that they're proposing that are going to work are not DEXs. They are not peer-to-peer type of transactions on chain. It's ugly. At the end of the day, it's all going to fall apart. And That's why I wanted to get you on for all the Road to Ruta people, to really reinforce, because to do reinforce the need to get assets in your own possession, to do a retirement account rollover through Perpetual Assets, a self-directed IRA where you get your assets in your own possession. It takes a little while. It can take a month or two to get all this transfers done and the paperwork done. And I do believe we're coming into September, October timeframe. It's feeling a lot like the same thing was happening in 2008. So I would not be surprised at all to see the same thing happen. So if you want to do something like this, to get your assets out of the system, and if you want to buy cryptos, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, you got to start now. You got to get the ball rolling, because the transfer out of the system takes a couple months. It'll take a month or two. Yeah. And I remember being in that process, and you had pins and needles. It's like, oh my God, I want to get the money out so I can buy cryptos. And is the money, even the couple days it takes to transfer funds here and there, you're like, oh my God, where's the funds? And I'm sure you hear a lot from customers. You're probably like their counselor saying, okay, get off the ledge. Everything's fine. This is normal. So why don't you tell everybody about, how long the process takes usually, and some of the feelings that you hear, the feedback you get from customers after it's all done. Because I've been listening to Dick lately, and he's just beyond over the moon that he did it.
I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah, that's a common emotion that's shared amongst. In fact, I've throughout my decades of financial services and different careers and things, I've sold a lot of different things, right? And I've never experienced such a high client referral rate as in this with this platform. And at first we were kind of baffled with it, 6-7 years ago. But I totally get it. I mean, people, and the reason that we started the company was to share this. I mean, this IRA LLC, this self-directed platform, was authored into existence by a congressional attorney some 30 years ago. And it's been used for decades by the insiders. But legally, it has to be available to everyone. It's just not advertised. JP Morgan and TD Ameritrade are not advertising this.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, really. Because they lose assets under management. People pull their money right out of the system and put it into real estate or private equity or precious metals or cryptocurrencies or whatever. So, yeah, the process takes about 3 to 4 weeks usually. Sometimes if we're working with an old 401k or a pension, a state pension or one of these employer group plans where an individual used to work or whatever, those can sometimes take a little bit longer to just get the money moving and get it out of there. TSP is another one of those. Thrift Savings Plan, I think that stands for. They're government based plans. But it's about a 3 or 4 week process. We do all the heavy lifting. So, I mean, it is quite a bit of regulatory, work. There's a lot of paperwork. There's several different institutions that we have to coordinate, state and federal. But we do all of that. And the client just signs a few rounds of paperwork. We try to make it as painless as possible for the clients, but it does take time. You've got to have a little bit of patience with us. And sometimes there's bumps in the road. We're working with numerous departments, numerous entities here, and somebody at a customer service department at the trustee might not send an email that they said they were going to send, or, so there's always a little stuff that happens, and there's little hiccups and things that can happen. But for the most part, 90% of the time, it's a pretty smooth process. We've done a lot of them. We've been doing it for a long time. And clients are pretty ecstatic. Once if you imagine, okay, I've got this chunk of life savings, this retirement account where I worked at my old job or whatever, and I've got this nice chunk of money there. Most people that are listening to this type of broadcast have already kind of kissed that money goodbye. I mean, sort of, it's like maybe I'll be able to access it someday if the markets don't collapse, but I'm stuck in these mutual funds. It's stuck at JP Morgan or whatever. So when they learn about this and they go through the process and they take control of the assets and have them in a local vault or a local storage area or somewhere where they can put their hands on it, man, it's a whole nother realization of your hard-earned savings, your wealth that you put all that effort into earning, and then you're able to really get your hands on it. You're not taking it out of the system. There's no taxes and penalties. So you're removing the assets from the system, but the account itself stays as a self-directed IRA. So there's no taxes and penalties that take place. So it's a great program for people who have money stuck or locked up in one of these and want to get it out. We've also had clients that set them up from scratch too. Hey, is there a minimum or a minimum amount that it makes sense to work with? Not really. It depends on your personal scenario. We've had people that say, look, I want to start putting $6,000 a year into an IRA to reduce my taxes, consult your CPA, of course, make that contribution, reduce my taxable income, and then, take those investments into my control. So we've had people do that. It works for, Roth accounts or traditional accounts, SEPs and Simples, all these different self-employed type of platforms, which are kind of cool. If you're self-employed, you can put in with a SEP, you can put in like up to $55,000 per year in tax deferred, reduces your taxable income. Consult your CPA. So yeah, there's a lot of different platforms that work within the platform. And it really helps people. When we learned about it, we were like, holy crap, people need to know about this. So we started the company based solely on that, on that idea, on getting the word out about getting control of your retirement assets.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, the moment when I got control of my assets, and my first purchases were physical silver into my own possession, but within my retirement account. And I remember that feeling of, oh my God, I feel so much better with myself controlling my assets than I think it was Fidelity. I had most of it in. And I'm not saying Fidelity is going under tomorrow, but Fidelity will not survive a banking crash. No financial institution is going to survive a banking crash. Now, how it will all shake out, nobody really knows. And if you keep your eye on the banks, they're not long for this world. And I know we've been saying that a long time, but you look at a bank like Deutsche Bank, that is the largest derivative holder bank on the banking side in the world, 45 trillion in derivatives, that the stock price keeps going down and down and down. They keep talking about mergers that fall through. Nobody is bailing out Deutsche Bank because they have a $45 trillion toxic derivative book. So if you don't bail them out, you've got one bank that goes down, and then you have the follow-ons, because people relying on Deutsche Bank staying in business to fulfill their end of that derivative, it starts the derivative contagion. So Deutsche Bank goes down, JP Morgan goes down, Citibank, just like 2008, except it doesn't stop, because this time you're not going to have a public that is not knowledgeable anymore about just how criminal these banks are. And a bailout of $700 billion, they leveraged it to 20 trillion last time. This time is so much bigger. So it's going to be a bailout of 20 trillion so they can leverage it to 400 trillion. I mean, at some point you got to say this is just ridiculous, because the same thing is going to happen in another 10 years. These banks don't learn any lessons, and do we want to kick the can down the road? Now, I understand the can's been kicked since 1913, and it just gets kicked and kicked and kicked. But we have never, ever, ever been in a more precarious position with more debt and money as debt ever in the history of humanity. So this is the big mother of all mothers when it comes to economic crashes. It's going to make the 1929 stock market crash look like child's play compared to the amount of debt that's out there, the amount of fiat money that's out there. And we don't even know how much fiat money is out there, because every country on planet Earth right now is telling people what they print and then printing a lot more without telling people. Catherine Austin Fitts has exposed that one, but that's just 30 trillion. Just imagine the amount that she hasn't even found. 300 trillion, a quadrillion. At some point you go, wait a minute, this is all a faith and trust game. And when the faith and trust are gone, you want your assets absolutely in your own possession. So tell people, and then I want to get on to how to buy cryptos. Tell people how they can get in touch with you to work on their getting out of their retirement system that they have right now.
Yeah. The best way, perpetualassets.com is where all of our stuff is hosted. There's an LLC IRA button or tab on there, and there's videos, there's news articles. We're adding some tutorials and things to even try to make it even simpler, but feel free to shoot us an email. There's an email button on there, a contact us button. So you can reach right out to us if, hey, I've got a whatever plan with, whoever it might be, whatever question you might have, send it over our way. And we're here to help you if we can, or at least help you discover what your options might be. So yeah, the website's the best way, or you can give us a ring, 888-281-2630. That phone number is also on the website.
Excellent. And I'll put a link to Perpetual Assets below this video. But I also want to talk about, because I do believe that we've bottomed a while ago for cryptocurrencies, big money, major money has yet to get in. They haven't gotten in yet. They got in a little bit on the downswing. But the major big monies still needs to get in. I get questions all the time about, will I buy cryptos for other people? I will not. I decided long ago not to do that. I didn't want to deal with all the necessary licensing and all that bullshit that you should go through. You guys, I know, have gone through that bullshit, and you do have a package where you can buy, or you will buy, certain cryptocurrencies at a certain amount. Can you give people who have asked me kind of a framework of how that process works to buy cryptocurrencies through you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's we had I guess over the course of 2017, we had so many clients that couldn't get money into crypto, especially the IRA money. We'd set up their IRA, and they would have $50,000 or whatever amount, and they want to plow it into Bitcoin, and literally we're not able to do it, or it would take weeks and months of working with the exchanges.
And they didn't want to make a mistake.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's a huge one. I mean, we have a lot of people that come to us. I really have to walk them through, okay, go buy a Trezor or a Ledger, or, here's the links to the sites, figure out, look at the videos, see which one you think works best for you, order that. And then I walk them through the setup. But our process is pretty simple. We have an internal AML and anti-money laundering and KYC, know your customer process that we have to put people through, just like a bank when you go open up a bank account. But unlike the exchanges, we're able to do it, same day. And it's a pretty quick process. We have an order form. Let us know what you want to purchase, the amount. And then we have you wire us the funds, wire us the dollars for the purchase. And within 24 hours, all of this takes place. We're on the phone with you executing a trade phone call where literally we're, okay, the price is X, confirmed. Yes. Purchase, we buy. And, then at that point, you've provided us your wallet address. We do a test transaction with you still on the phone of $10 or $20 worth of the crypto sent to your wallet. So you can go, yep, receive, clear, and then we send the rest of it. And then you go bury it and forget about it. So yeah, it took us a long time and a lot of regulatory madness to get it set up, and we're still dealing with a whole bunch of issues with the banks mostly. We're compliant with the federal government, we're compliant with the US Treasury, we're compliant with FinCEN, we're compliant on the state level, but the banks don't want to deal with crypto. The banks don't like crypto. So it's not
a regulatory thing. It's that they know that that's their business, and their business might go away if they're, if they embrace the cryptos.
Yeah, they mask it as a risk profile. It's a higher risk, but they deal with third party check cashing services in foreign countries. Like there's no more risk than that.
What's
International wires.
what's for you guys to buy cryptos? What's the minimum amount you guys?
$10,000.
Okay.
10,000 US dollars is our minimum. Which anything less than that. I mean, I talked to a nice lady yesterday, and I just kind of guided her through, hey, go order a Trezor, get on Coinbase, set up, it's if you can set up an email account, you can do this. She didn't have very much cash to work with. And, smaller amounts are not that difficult to get in, right? The larger amounts are quite difficult to get in. So that's kind of why it's tailored, to those larger transactions above $10,000. Right now, we're only set up for Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum for those 3 digital assets. We have access to hundreds of others. So if a client is like really, really hell bent on this, one, and we have access to it, and there's liquidity and everything else, we might, on a case by case basis, be able to help with other assets. But mostly we just do the big problem and challenge has been getting US dollars into the space. Once you have your hands on Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, you can go set up an account at one of these non-fiat exchanges pretty quickly and easily with a picture of your photo ID and your green lit. And then you can get in there and trade for other altcoins. So yeah, that's really the basis of it. We try to keep it really simple and fast. And a lot of people, there are fees. Our fees are 5 to 8%, depending on the volume, the size of the transaction, which when we set this up, we're coming in, the industry average on this type of a private over-the-counter offering is like 8 to 15%. So just some of the IRA crypto competitors that are doing similar things. So we're much lower than those. But there are a lot of regulatory burdens that we have to go through to make it available. So, but I mean, you can go to a Bitcoin ATM and spend 6, 7, 8%, just to go buy Bitcoin with cash discreetly. And
you can't get the kind of big money out of the ATMs.
Correct. There's still lots of limits. I guess you could drive around town and, literally we had clients before this who were, Will, I went to 6 Bitcoin ATMs today to try to get my 30 grand worth of Bitcoin or whatever. I mean, it's literally kind of crazy. So.
Yeah. Awesome. And they contact the same contact to get in touch with you guys.
Yep. Perpetualassets.com. And just contact us. We don't have our crypto link up there active right now, but just shoot us an email or contact us, and I'll email you the forms. So it's a pretty simple 1-page form to let us know what you want to order, and then we can start the process from there.
And I absolutely vouch for you and Gus and everybody in your company. I literally wouldn't trust. I don't trust many people to start with, but absolutely trust you guys, and you're doing the right thing. And every single person to the T who I sent to you and have come back and talked to me about the experience said, top notch, number one, the kind of people not only I want to deal with in business, but I want to be friends with. And I think everybody should be friends with you guys.
Well, thank you to your subscribers and our clients out there that have brought that positive news back. We appreciate it very much. We value you guys so much. You keep the lights on. You keep my kids fed. I might get a little stressed out and overwhelmed from time to time. So if you catch me in the weeds, just excuse me. But I love chatting with people. I mean, I don't get to stay on top of a lot of the different things that are going on politically and this and that. And so I talked to a gentleman yesterday for like half an hour, and he was telling me about this and the Q and the this and the that. And it's just keeping me up to speed. So I really love that interaction with folks. So yeah, but thank you guys very much.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you a ton. I think we're approaching another time this summer and coming into September, October where you're going to be in the weeds with so many people panicking to get out of the old system. And I would beg everybody, if you plan on doing this, I suggest doing it early rather than late, because you're late, you're going to be delayed, and you're going to have to compete with everybody else to get out of the old system and to get into the crypto world or the gold and silver world. And you're better off doing it earlier. And that's from experience. So,
yeah.
Will, thank you very much for your time and information. And again, tell everybody the phone number and the website.
Yes, 888-281-2630, perpetualassets.com. And thank you, Bix. Thanks for your continued support and just, what you do for the community. Your deep digging into all the stuff that you research. It's awesome. It's awesome to have a friend like you doing that, because it allows me to go, oh, has Bix looked at this thing yet? Okay. All right. Bix has done the research. All right. Now I'll look at it, so I appreciate you for that.
I also want to officially invite you to the Las Vegas event, the Road to Ruta Litecoin party is on October 27th in Vegas at the Cosmopolitan Hotel. It's going to be a monster. Got Bitcoin Ben, Dick Allgaier, Jason M4, and a whole bunch of the crypto Illuminati coming. Litecoin Lisa's coming. And I want to invite you to both participate as a speaker and a co-partier. And it's October 27th. If anybody wants to come, we're going to sell this thing out pretty quickly. So it costs you one Litecoin. Now, a few months ago, Litecoin was only $25, and it's a full day event. It's a day and night event. So it was quite a bargain. It's getting more and more expensive. So one Litecoin, if you want to go, send me an email, bix@roadtoruta.com, and say, send me info on the Vegas event. And then we're going to sell it out at some point, or we'll just stop selling tickets. We already got like 250 people. We got enough room for about 400, but probably be smaller. And I just want anybody that wants to go now. It's only $90, so send in your Litecoin quickly, because by then, if Litecoin's up to say $1,000, which would be awesome, you're probably gonna have to pay a hell of a lot more to get in this party, and it's gonna be a fun one. Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you very much, and we will see you very soon.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.